Morning world. Does anybody want to explain to me how it is possible? When I was a child, I was molested by a man named Eddie Cup. He was sent off to prison, spent 20 years, 21 years behind bars, so they told me. Anyway, the one who represented that man, which I just found this out, reading some newspaper articles about it, uh, his name was William Zimmerman Sr. in Sydney, Ohio, who is now the current juvenile judge. But this man represented this monster against me. And years later, I would find out that he had ties and connections to the Cromas family, who was my foster parents, who actually took my children away from me, using his help within the court system as their lawyer. He also represented me in a case which got me prison time, got me sent off. Instead of getting me off, he got me sent off. And I remember him looking at me. He came to my house one time, Zimmerman Sr., who was working for the Cromases and my ex-wife, to try to get my daughter, which they were keeping them from me, which I had rights to her. They came over and he came up on my porch and he told me, he said, "You're one of the greatest manipulators." I never understood what he meant by that, but years later I would come to find out that he had a harboring judgmental spirit against me for some reason, which I never understood. But this same Zimmerman represented my ex-wife against me, represented the Cromases against me and my ex-wife, represented my so-called biological father, Eddie Cup, against me. Also, Nathan Kleinert was my so-called lawyer, okay, who William Zimmerman gave him the job to represent me in this case against when I was fighting for custody of my, at the time, thought was my two kids. And they took them away from me for some things that I'd done when I was in my teenage years. And they had a judge, actually, two magistrates recused themselves, took themselves out of the case, because you only have a certain amount of time in order to prove that there is a parent that is, what is it called? I just lost it. Excuse me, give me a second. Anyway, where they got an emergency ex parte. I went and got a lawyer the next day, and they fought tooth and nail, and they kept my kids, and they got custody of my children, even though I had a lawyer, which I come to find out that Nathan Kleiner was given this job by William Zimmerman Sr. Tell me that there is no conflict of interest, or there isn't something going on in there. And it caused me great grief for years of my life. Grief like you can't even imagine, when they just stripped away my children from me. They caused me tremendous grief. This needs to be looked at, if it hasn't already. William Zimmerman Sr., you are guilty. And Cromases, you're guilty. All of you that are tied into this, Nathan Kleinert, all above, and the judge that ruled in their favor, she retired 3 days later, or within the week, after the two magistrates recused themselves because they didn't want no part of it. They knew what was going on was against the law. I knew it from the time. I documented it. I discussed it with Nathan Kleinert. I was more of an attorney than Nathan Kleinert was. I had to tell Nathan Kleinert when to object to William Zimmerman Sr.'s foolish statements that had nothing to do with my current status in life at that time. Of course, grief hit me, and I did what I knew to do best. I stayed and went back to drug addiction. But I'm not using that as an excuse. But now I understand where the pain was inside of me. And it was because of these monsters in this town doing what they were doing to me. We are your queen, and until next time.